Good morning. My name is Megan Edwards of Focus Communications, and today we've got another update from Kuya Silver, which trades on the Canadian Stock Exchange under the symbol KUYA. Joining me is Kuya's President and CEO, David Stein. David, thank you for your time today.
Thank you for speaking with me again.
So today we're getting an update from the company's Silver Kings project located in the historic cobalt silver mining district of Ontario. David, before we talk about the latest press releases, could you give us an introduction to this project?
Sure. First, our important disclosures there for everybody to read. So we acquired the first package, which we call the Kerr project in 2021, early 2021. So we've been in the camp now for almost 2 years. We really, as most people know, we've really been focused on our flagship project in Peru the past few years. But we've really been, behind the scenes. We've been doing some really good work in Ontario, learning a lot about the project and the opportunity there. And we, we're very excited to continue to accumulate more land here, which ultimately, I think improves the project quite a bit for us in the longer term. So when we look at what we've acquired recently, it's the or what we're acquiring in January, it's the joint venture claims that we had with Electra. So originally we acquired the Kerr project by itself, which is a little less than 1,000 hectares of the 16 plus 1,000 hectares that we have. We've also done some of our own claim staking outside of the joint venture area, and you can see those areas off to the west in a couple of spots there. We call those the sunrise claims. Those are grassroots, but we see similar geology to what we have in the main camp area. So there's an opportunity there. But we're very excited to have this whole package now, about 30 kilometers from north to south. And, it just made sense to consolidate it into Kuya because we're going to be doing, hopefully a lot of work here in the next few years. We see a lot of similarities from a mining point of view and kind of a strategy point of view to, the cobalt camp versus what we're doing in Peru. In Peru, we've got, high grade veins close to surface that you can mine at relatively small tonnage and still produce a lot of silver. And we see the same opportunity here in the cobalt camp. So that's the idea. That's why we made the acquisition in the first place, because it fits in with our strategy of kind of low capex, high grade mining. Here the geology is quite different though. You've got your silver is associated with cobalt and some other metals. Versus in Peru, it's more the traditional silver, lead, zinc systems. But nevertheless, we see a similar opportunity, and we've got some great first results, both from the previous owners and also some of the work that we've done more recently.
And yesterday, Kuya announced an exploration update from the Kerr project at Silver Kings, where you completed about 5,000 meters of scout drilling along with re-assaying previous drill intervals. Could you take us through this program and some of the results you released?
Yeah, so we really poked around in a number of different areas in the Kerr package. And, the area that we are most focused in on is this North Drummond area that's sort of around here actually. So that's where the previous operators had the best result, and it is a new area where there hasn't been any historical mining. So it does appear to be a legitimate brand new discovery. That being said, there's still lots of opportunity, we think, in the rest of the Kerr Lake area, to go deeper, to explore some of the veins along strike as well. So that's something we also have investigated. But really it was just sort of a hole there, a hole here, a hole there. So we really, need to do quite a bit more work on this to really start to put together an idea of where the best zones are. And I think we'll be doing that at North Drummond. We're really quite encouraged by what we've seen in the North Drummond target, following on from what the previous operators, they had a legitimate discovery, as I mentioned before. with a hitting high grade silver over more than 2 meters. What we found when we drilled around that area is that we think there's actually multiple high grade vein systems there, but we were probably drilling them too deeply. So we were kind of catching them as they were pinching out. So we can still see where the structures are, but the grades were lower. So we think in this particular area, as we follow those structures up depth or up closer to surface, we may see them blow out and find the kinds of veins that have been mined on the other side of the lake, on the west side, where there's veins that would be, a single vein would be multi-million ounces of silver, and you can build up your resource very quickly once you get onto one of those bigger veins.
And just looking at the image, you can see the extensive historic veins everywhere. So I'm not sure if you just answered this, but for Kuya, is this a function of expanding on areas that were not fully mined, or are you looking for an untested discovery to build the next Bethania?
Yeah, so I mean, the reason why one of the reasons why we like the North Drummond target so much is because it is a new discovery. So it's not really close to any significant mine workings. You can see, or maybe it's hard to see on this map, but the historical mine workings would be basically following these veins in red. And as you go to the eastern side of this lake, there's really nothing. But we have, and there is a historical property boundary here as well. So that when you go back through history, that can always be an issue between two different mining companies and drilling on a border. So it looks like this area, because we have the whole thing now, does have some really good mineralization, and that's been proven by some of the recent drilling. Even going back to the previous operators, as I mentioned before. So that is a big target for us, is to go and find something and delineate something that appears to be a brand new discovery. So that's what we'll be doing.
And last year, you closed a financing with over $1 million in flow through. With funding now in place to follow up on your previous work, what are the next steps in this project area for the company?
Well, I think the majority of that budget will be spent on drilling. We do have some other surface sampling and geophysics that we're going to do as well. But I think the idea will be to do a nice drill program there. Several thousand meters, and we're still planning that, in the planning stages right now for that. But again, focus mostly on North Drummond. We may do a few other scout holes, but we really feel like that's where we're going to get the best sort of bang for our buck right now, because we do know where, or we have a good idea of where the mineralized structures are. So we'll be following those up, and we're very excited to do that here very soon into 2023.
And to cap things off, David, you've now done a thorough initial pass at the Kerr property. What do you want the investment community to take away from your work to date?
One of the important things to realize about the Cobalt area, and especially the Kerr Lake area where our properties are, is the veins are pretty much all subvertical. So they basically go up and down. They might be steeply dipping a little bit, but they're all pretty much subvertical. So so when we hit probably two different veins in this one spot here, where the red circle is, and then we've been hitting vein mineralization, lower grade vein mineralization, sort of all around it. And so when we look at what we're interpreting as the vein structures here, we think we've got veins in two different directions, at least two different directions here, sort of more or less north-south and more or less east-west here. And now that we have at least one hit on some of these veins where one data point, we can start following those up and moving shallower and shallower. And, we think that's where the best joy is going to be from the drill program. So that's our plans. It's I know these maps look complicated, but it's actually pretty simple. These are steeply dipping veins. They're narrow but super high grade. and we want to find the sweet spot in them. And when we do, we think we can build ounces really quickly.
All right. Well, we appreciate you coming on the show today, David, and look forward to having you back soon.
Okay. Thank you for having me.